Hello, I'm Lanre Lasisi and I'd like to welcome you to your parliamentary program, The Gavel. Now, the air of transition is blowing everywhere as different institutions in the country go through the process of ending one circle and commencing another. For the executive, this process came to a climax on Friday in a very colorful ceremony. For the National Assembly, this process of concluding the circle of the 7th National Assembly has commenced. The House of Representatives had an elaborate valedictory session as part of this process, but some legislative activities still took place during the week as some committees took steps to bring an end to the long queues at petrol stations in the country. We will also be looking at the face-off between former President Goodluck Jonathan and the National Assembly on some recent amendments to the Constitution, a face-off which some believe has been resolved. Now let's begin with the intervention by the Senate committees on petroleum resources.
The challenge facing this country today, as far as this issue of fuel subsidy and availability of products, because that's actually what is bringing us here this morning, is concerned, is taking on a dimension that I personally consider alarming.
The fuel crisis is not only alarming to the chairman of the Senate Committee on Petroleum, but to many Nigerians across the country. The situation has been getting worse by affecting banks, mobile telephone companies, and even schools who have had to scale down operations because of a difficulty in getting fuel. At this meeting, initiated by the Senate's committees on upstream and downstream, the major stakeholders in the petroleum sector met to find solutions to this problem. But in finding solutions, they first aired their grievances.
So these are the questions that we have to ask. 1. Why did marketers not fulfill their promise made on national television to supply fuel after they got their last payment of 154 billion? If they don't have fuel to supply, why is the black market so full of fuel? Selling at very exorbitant prices. 3. As I said before, if they didn't go shut down the whole country when they were being owed 1.3 trillion, why are they shutting the country down when they say they are owed 200 billion, of which 159 is on verified claims?
Importation, and I want to make it very clear this morning, it's not at our instance. We are importing on behalf of the government, and I will explain why. Because government could not make the product available locally, government says, bring in the product. Honorable Minister actually assisted by inviting the governor of Central Bank to a meeting. And the CBN governor promised that he was going to speak with the commercial banks to help us. And I want to say it openly here that we did not get that assistance from the banks. In other words, there was no way we could import. We are owing them, and they said we should pay back. At some point, they threatened, and that they said we were going to go on strike. We couldn't even pay, even when we received the 32 out of the 154. Reason, there was already a hole. So as soon as the payment was received and it went to the bank, because the money doesn't come to us directly, it goes to the bank took their money. So as we speak, we are still owing the transporters.
A visibly disgruntled Minister of Finance further had this to say about the situation.
There is a deliberate attempt to sabotage this economy and bring it to a halt and a standstill. I know I'm saying very strong words, but Nigerians have to know the truth. Because some of the things that happen in this country are inexplicable.
However, after the back and forth between the finance minister and representatives of the oil workers and marketers, they finally reached an agreement.
First is that the Minister of Finance will give an undertaking to the major marketers and DAPMAN that the work of that committee being headed by the CBN will be concluded. If it is concluded, PPPRA, yes, and CBN will be concluded in verifying the outstanding claims. If it is concluded before the end of the life of this administration, it will be reflected in the handover notes. If it is not concluded before the end of the life of this administration, then the fact that such a committee is set up and working will be reflected in the handover notes, and a copy of the letter conveying the existence of this committee will be sent to MOMAN and DAPMAN, and also a copy will be sent to us in this committee. So on the basis of that agreement, MOMAN will offer whatever cooperation that is needed to enable lifting of products nationwide to begin within the next 6 hours. We have also agreed with DPRO that any depot that has products and fails to begin lifting within the next 6 hours should have their license revoked immediately.
The agreement reached by government, the petroleum marketers and other stakeholders in the sector came as a relief to Nigerians who have had to contend with rising cost of transportation, epileptic power supply and long queues to buy fuel. But the fuel crisis is a multi-dimensional problem and one which would simply not go away despite the agreements reached.
Now, as I'm sure you remember, almost 2 years ago, the House of Representatives investigated the management of the petroleum subsidy scheme. Now, I spoke with some members of the House of Representatives on the relevance of the report from that investigation and other matters which were thrown up recently by the recent and the latest round of fuel scarcity.
If the executive has taken pains to follow the recommendation I implemented, we couldn't have found ourselves where we are today. It's a very unfortunate situation. And we said it and consistently saying it that the issue of fuel subsidy in today's Nigeria is completely a deceit. We should not deceive Nigerians. There is nothing like subsidy. Those only the people that are benefiting from this, the so-called subsidy, are just very few people. The same people that we indicted, if you look at it, the same people that some political parties during their fundraising call these people to come and contribute to the fund of this political party. It is very unfortunate in this country. If the federal government at that time, the executive, followed the executive without chasing shadow, chasing the issue of public law and look at the fact, the issue, then we couldn't have found ourselves today. Now the issue of subsidy is repeating itself.
The refineries that we have, why are they not working? If they are working, what is the capacity? Can that capacity sustain what our need? We must identify that first. Then the next thing is to say, how much is really are we really getting this? How much? Then the price of crude oil was above 100. Today we have it hovering around 60. So what is the situation? So some people somewhere cannot just be writing something on paper that is the subsidy, and that is the reason why you have the differences between the finance minister and the marketers. If government is saying it is 5 naira on every subsidy on a liter of petrol, the government should also ensure that it gets to the appropriate people. The issue that you give the marketers an open-ended check that you cannot really guarantee how much will be subsidy at the end of the day is something I think is anti-people. And we must, as a matter of urgency, make sure that the government that is coming in will put them on their feet to make sure that the subsidy is the people, a way of saying the people enjoy some benefit of government. Every home today, it's either you run your power, it's either you provide, it's like a mini government.
There's need to have value for whatever we're doing, value for our money. And look into the community thoroughly, and from there could be a good point to go beyond that, even to look into the whole oil sector. For me, what is happening is unpalatable. It should not be condoned. All over, I do some analysis sometime past, and the comparison is that Nigeria is selling at almost the highest price. So I don't know what is called fuel subsidy. I don't know.
There's a lot of fraud involved in the fuel subsidy thing. There are these people that have been found culpable. Take them to court. And let's be definitive about this. Let the court know that this is a national assignment that they must finish and people must be sanctioned. If that had been done, we will not find ourselves where it is. A lot of us should be ready to sacrifice. We're going to make a lot of sacrifice. It will not be the usual thing. We should be ready to sacrifice. Some of us are going to be pinched. We're going to have pains. But let's take those pains because we know and we should realize that we want a better Nigeria. To get a better Nigeria, it's not going to be easy. We are in a quagmire that is so rough and bad that it will take the grace of God to put us right. And that grace of God, I know it's with us. It is now for us, we the people of Nigeria, we Nigerians, to make sacrifice to make this come through.